Hello guys, welcome to another weekly breakdown video. Today I'm breaking down the first week of July. As you can see, it is an NFP week, and don't get overwhelmed by looking at my screen. I have just shown all of my callouts that I've written throughout the week that I've noticed. I've also took a screenshot of this, so we have this knowledge. Don't worry. You can pause the video and can read if you wanna take a quick look. These are the callouts that I read. If I read it one by one, it will take a lot of time and this video will be very long, right? So that's why you can pause it and you can take a screenshot like I did. I took a screenshot, and if I want to look at this, what I'll do, I will go to my screenshots and I will look at that, or watch out for that. So it is what it is. And yeah, mate, now quickly show you the news. Now clearly we can see, if I show you the news, Monday there is whole day Euro news, Tuesday also there is news. This week, to be honest, was a very high impact news driven week. As you can see, Euro, there was huge news on Monday. Tuesday also there was news. Wednesday there was non-farm employment change. Thursday there was GBP whole day news, so it was very tricky to trade. Friday there was NFP. This week we couldn't catch any trades, and also in this week the market has been bearish for some time now, making a higher low on the weekly time frame. So now it was also catching up with the higher time frames, like weekly being bullish, right? So it was best to not trade this week. And how did you know that the market is now changing from bearish to bullish? Because of the experience that I have in the markets. Not only that, obviously, just by looking at the market we can say it. And also the bullish momentum towards the upside was so high. And obviously, bro, I have some experience in the market now, and I can literally, my intuition is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So it is what it is. So now going on the weekly time frame without wasting any time. On the weekly time frame, you can clearly see my weekly bias was bullish, weekly bias was bearish going to next week, according to how these candles are closing. And also the previous weekly candle, the most important one, closed as a bearish pin bar. So also it made sense to go and fill up this weekly fair value gap, and the weekly demand was also so close. So was looking for that on DXY. I will not show you how I mark these zones because it's so easy and I know how to do it. And if you want to know about that, I can make another video for you guys. And whereas going on DXY, my bias was bullish, as you can see, and this is the demand we are looking to trade. Sorry, this is the demand zone, not this, not this, and not this, because of this higher low and higher high, right? Because of this, I follow the technicals. So if I follow my technicals, this is the low that goes this high. So anything happens here, this is the accumulation of orders. You can argue that yes, you can mark this as the demand, and it's also getting respected as the demand, right? I know that this might be the demand, and I'm also keeping that in mind. But even though I'm keeping that in mind, I am also watching for this demand zone right around here. So I am not concerned about this zone right here. Why? Because in the daily, obviously, I mark this demand like I did here. So this was the weekly analysis for you guys. On DXY, I'm looking for buys, and on GU, I'm looking for sells. So I've also written it here. DXY bullish, GU bearish. And if I'm looking for buys, obviously this will be my draw of liquidity to the upside. And yeah, mate, that was what I was looking for in the weekly. Now going on the daily time frame, as you can see, just because the change of character happened right here on the weekly time frame, if I draw my Fibonacci retracement, the retracement also happened to the equilibrium. Now it's getting closer to the 61.8 level. Also, this is a healthy pullback. As you can see, higher highs, higher lows. As we know, the market cannot go up forever. For every higher high, there should be a higher low, right? So that is what we were anticipating. And also, if the retracement happens to this 76.8 level, that is more a very healthy pullback, right? And yeah, mate, that was the weekly bias. If you have any confusion, you can comment down, I can reply. So on the daily time frame, now going on to the daily time frame, I watch out for my daily bias. My daily bias going on Monday was very tricky. As you can see, I am right now, the market is in a bear trend, right? Anyone with a brain and eyes can say it. The market has changed character right around here, broken structure right around here. Again, next break of structure, the market is trending down, and this fair value gap is the next target, and this demand zone is next target. You can argue, bro, why didn't you mark this demand zone? Because of this low and this high. The same sort of thing, just like I showed in DXY. And this was the most relevant demand right around here. And if it's going down, I mark the demand zones. for the next demand zone to watch out for potential reversals, right? So going on Monday, my bias was not clear, as you can see how this Friday candle closed on GBP USD. And going on DXY, if I show you my daily bias, even on DXY, my demand zone is this one, not this one, and not this one. Why? Because of this low and this high. The same sort of thing on the weekly. Whenever the market goes up with a huge momentum, I consider it as accumulation of orders. Many people would consider this as demand zone, this as a demand zone, and this as the demand zone. Correct, you are correct. No problem for that. I know that. I know I might be wrong here, and this demand zone might work, and I am keeping that in mind, right? So I am not being reluctant or yeah, the word is not coming to my mind, so pardon me. So, and the supply zone, you can also argue this might be the supply, bro, this might be the supply, but I didn't mark that because of this low and this high again, right? Because everything that is happening inside this zone, I'm considering that as accumulation of orders. So going on Monday, my bias was bearish on DXY, and on GU my bias was not clear, and on EU my bias would be bullish. But yeah, if I would look for something, it would be buys on Monday. So, but on Monday I decided not to trade because it was not clear, and also waiting on Monday, if waiting on Monday can give you a clear bias on Tuesday, why will you not wait, right? It makes sense to wait for Tuesday if you can get a good bias. Like in this case, I waited for Monday. Just because I waited for Monday, right? So on going on Tuesday now, my bias is so clear, being bearish. On Tuesday I will look for sales because of how this candle closed, targeting this previous daily low right here, targeting this daily fair value gap. And also it has went up, swept all of the liquidity from these sellers right around here, respect the supply zone, and then now to the downside. So many things telling us that selling is making more sense. On DXY, the same sort of opposite thing happened right around here. It was a bullish candle. You can argue this is the demand zone that it was respecting, and yeah, mate. Also there was a small fair value gap, which is very small, but also we marked it because it is what it is. So now going on Tuesday I will look for sales, and also on Monday you might be thinking, why does such a huge candle form on Monday, right? There is a reason, because on Monday there was Euro whole day news, CPI, and CPI tends to make a very huge moves in one direction. I've seen that happen a gazillion of times, and yeah, mate, if you can catch the correct side on CPI, one trade is one prop from challenge, or at least one phase, right? So going on Tuesday now, I will look for sales. This is the advantage of waiting for Monday, right? I waited for Monday to close, and going on Tuesday my bias is so clear, being bearish. So on 4 hour you can see this is the lower high, lower low, break of structure. I will not show you this because I can do that. I've already done the analysis, so I can see that repetition leads to mastery. So this supply zone was respected. Actually it was swept, the liquidity got swept and then respected. So on the hourly we will find, on the 4 hourly there is a break of structure here, but this supply zone was not respected, as you can see. So it will be better to go on the hourly and look for some supply zones to trade from. So going on Tuesday, my supply zone was somewhere around here, okay, because of how this Monday candle closed. Yeah, Monday closed with a huge bearish momentum. That is why I was looking to trade from the closest supply zone. Whenever the momentum is very high on the previous day, we tend to trade the closest zone, right? That's one of my rules that I figured out just recently, and that is why I marked this supply zone here. This was the M15 supply zone. There was a break of structure, so it was a clean supply zone. Let me show you why it was a clean supply zone. Going on the M15, you can see the main supply zone would have been this one, which was made on New York session. Huge amount of sellers came in the market. Lower high, lower low, the break of structure happened right around here. So according to the Asian range, I decide my bias. So also according to the Asian range, this supply zone here was making sense, so I decided to trade that. So now going on the hourly, let me show you. So going on the hourly, we can clearly see right here, I was looking to trade from this M15 supply zone right around here, but actually what happened, the market gave a continuation setup, as you can see right here. And continuation setups, we trade from the fair value gaps and also the M15 order block made after the Asian range. So this fair value gap was not respected. As you can see, it gave a rejection kinda, but just a M15 rejection is not enough. As you can see, we have to trade with a higher time frame. As you can see right here, this M15 I would have 100% lost this trade if I traded just because of this M15 rejection. And also there was a fair value gap to the upside right around here, small fair value gap, so also it didn't make sense to trade this fair value gap down there. So even the M15 order block supply zone that was marked, that led to the huge move, wasn't respected. So Tuesday was a loss, you can argue, or also a no trade day for me. If I was patient, I would not take the trade, and just because I didn't took the trade on Tuesday, now my bias going on Wednesday will be so clear. That's how the market operates, mate. That's what I love about this strategy. The previous days makes the trade for you, right? You don't need to do anything. All you need to do is wait patiently, and whenever your setup appears, take it with a educated guess, with a good risk management. That's it. That's all you can do as a trader. So now this supply zone is looking like it's not getting respected. Still now we can't say anything because anything can happen in the market. Next day can make a bearish pin bar. But looking at this now, going on Wednesday, it would be asinine to look for sells, right? Because of how this candle closed. So going on Wednesday, I will look for buys again because of how the Tuesday candle closed. To confirm the bias, I go to DXY, and on DXY, the same sort of opposite thing is true right around here. Tuesday closed as a very bearish candle, so on Wednesday, I will look for sells. So this is when I go to the GU, the lower time frames, to look for some change of characters, break of structures. On the 4 hourly, there was nothing because the market was still trading between this high and this low. So as I told you, whenever the market is trading from a high, a low, I consider it as accumulation of orders, which was already swept here, you can argue. But until and unless the market breaks out either one of the highs and lows, I would not consider that. That is one of my rules. So also the previous week high has been swept on GU. We also have to keep that in mind. So I waited for the Asian range to close. It was so clean, bruv. Trading on Wednesday was so clean because of this H1 demand right here, break of structure. You can argue the main demand zone was here, made on London session. And also I have noticed one pattern here. Whenever London session is opening, that is 12:30 p.m. right now, when the daylight savings is on, right? That is when the momentum tends to kick in. Whenever the market is trading in normal conditions, 12:30, which is London open, 8 a.m. London session, is when the market gives the move most of the times. Today I caught a huge move, this move right here, due to following that rule right there, London rule, right? We caught our 1:3, beautiful trade. If I only trade in my session, in my time window, you are gonna be profitable, bro. That's it. And once you take a trade, get out of the charts. Once you have put your stop loss, your entry, it's either going to take your stop loss or it's either going to go in your direction. That's it, right? So this demand zone right here was made due to this break of structure. It was valid, but the only problem with this demand zone was the 2:30 candle when the market opens, right? We know that the market opens on 2:30 Indian Standard Time. The move happened perfectly. Everything, our strategy played out. The market played out, right? Everything was there, but it happened not in our timing, right? This was 2:30 when the market opened. When the market opened, it went down, mitigated this demand zone. So now after the demand zone is mitigated, an order block is not a strong order block if it's mitigated, right? We want to see a fresh order block to trade it. So it made sense to go down, but it's also a very low probability trade, to be honest. So this was a very good trade. The same sort of thing happened on EU, but what did EU do? In EU, you can see this zone was very relevant right here. This demand zone was very relevant. On the weekly breakdown, I don't usually show these things, but it is very important here, or it is very interesting, so I'm showing you. Okay, so on DXY also, this was the H1 supply because of this break of structure. So on this day, we can clearly see, rather than GU, it would make more sense to trade EU because the zone was so clean, right? So what did the GU do? Asian low sweep made the move, but it made the move from anywhere, right? So whenever the market is not reacting from a zone or a significant amount of liquidity, I don't take the trade. So GU, I wouldn't take the trade. But whereas EU, you can see this is a demand zone, okay? Even if it's red color, you can see it's perfection, bro. This demand zone was respected to the T. So that finalized that whenever EU has a clear zone, trade EU. Same bias, obviously, because they move very similar. And whenever GU has a clear zone, trade GU, regardless of what GU and EU is doing. So that's also one of my rules, which I figured out very soon. I mean, just recently. And even on DXY, we can see this is the lower high that made lower low. Beautiful rejection from the supply zone that I've marked, right? So what I've said is true, and it worked. So going on Wednesday, if the reaction happened from here, I would take this trade and this would have been a winner, and I would also journal this trade. But it is what it is. I'm making a video, so that's not a problem. The market literally went up. If I had found a way to enter this market here, everything was clear. Trading the daily bias also, bro, trade the daily bias, no problem. Trading daily bias is not problem. If you only trade with the weekly bias, yeah, you will be taking less trades. But why? If the daily bias is working, why to not trade it, right? So I'm gonna trade the daily bias if the zones are clear, like this. This was a very clean day on Wednesday, and also it was ADP non-farm employment change. As you can see, there was news. Monday, Tuesday there was Euro whole day news, and Wednesday there was ADP non-farm employment, and also New York session there was news. So Wednesday we didn't do the trade because of how this closed, and now going on to Thursday. It was a very, very informative week. We got to learn a lot of things, but trading wise we were not able to catch any trades. Okay, so now going on Thursday, again, if I'm looking for something, it will be buys. But in this case, right, on Tuesday we can see huge, literally the market closed with huge buyers right here. But on Wednesday, market went up, came down, gave a wick. That means at the end of the day the sellers were strong, right? So this is when I tend to trade the little bit far zones which are relevant, right? In this case I will not trade the closest zone, as you can see, as that's also one of my rules. And yeah, so I'll be looking for buys if I'm looking for something, and if I compare it with DXY, it was also making sense, right? So going on the 4 hourly to look for some break of structures, because the change of character already happened. The market was trading between these highs and these lows. As I said, lower highs, lower lows. Finally it has broke out this low. So this is the change of character. I don't know why I didn't mark it, or I did mark it and I have unmarked it, I guess. So obviously I'm looking for buys. So going on Thursday, if I'm looking for buys, it would be very tricky, because I was looking for buys for, okay, so it was a continuation setup. The Asian low sweep and what I told, I will only trade a good zone, a relevant zone, because of how the momentum was there. At the end of the day it came down, right? So that's what I have figured out recently. And now going on the M15, because it was a continuation setup, let me show you on the M15. Look, literally what did the market do? Went up, gave a fake move. London session started here 12:30, right? Gave a fake move to the downside, swept liquidity from these lows right here, and then boom. This is the timing when you want to trade. London session opening first hour, the first hour of London session, 12:30 to 1:30, when the daylight savings are on, and 1:30 to 2:30 Indian Standard Time when the daylight savings are closed. That is the timing when you want to trade, because those are the times where most of the moves are happening. So I took the trade somewhere around here. It was a 1:3. Probably won the trade. Yes, I won the trade. And also in this trade I have learned that, look, the Asian range was very small, right? The Asian range was just about 12 pips. So in this case, there is a rule for me. Whenever I'm taking a trade, my stop loss should be 1.5 pips below or above, according to whatever you're doing, buying or selling. But in this case, giving a 1.5 pip room didn't make sense, because the trade would not make sense. So because of how the Asian range closed, very small, right? So that is why whenever the Asian range is closed, I only give 0.8 pips to the price, or to my trades, to room to breathe, so that I don't get stopped out, exactly like it happened in this trade. I could have journaled this trade, but I didn't, because good market conditions are coming sooner. So why will I journal a trade which is not that clean, right? So it was a winner, to be honest. A win is a win. Also, why did it make sense to take a continuation setup today? Because there was no clear zones. Whenever the market is not giving clear zones and the momentum is very high in the market, that is when we tend to get the continuation setups most of the time. So on Thursday it was a continuation setup, because there was no clear zones to trade from. You have to know that, or you will know that through experience. All of these things are coming through experience by doing it again and again and again, right? By repeating the same mundane every single day. So now going on Friday, you can argue now going on Friday it's a bit tricky, because now the market is given a, or price is given a fair value gap right here. It can come and fill up this fair value gap, or it can continue to the upside. But me, according to how I trade, I will not trade this fair value gap. I will anticipate Friday to continue up. Yes, it always makes sense, the weekly profiling thing. The market has gone up whole week, so it makes sense to come and make the low of the week. Sorry, no, make a pullback on Friday. Most of the time that happened. But if I was looking for something, it would be buys. And also it was NFP. Thursday there was GBP news whole day, so it was also tricky to trade. Friday it was NFP, so what I did, I decided not to trade. Simple as that. I decided not to trade on Friday, and not trading on Friday was a good decision. As you can see, as I told you, I don't trade the fair value gap. If the market is bullish, I will look for buys. Even if I have just done it, let me show you what I was looking for on Friday. So on Friday we can see I was looking for buys. There was no sort of demand zone right around here, because Thursday didn't give us a clear move, as it was choppy right here. So what happened on Friday is a continuation setup again. As you can see, it was also clean. We could have taken this, to be honest. So my session starts right around here, 12:30. So 12:30 gave us a rejection. To be honest with you, I could have entered a trade somewhere around here, stop loss below here, and targeted a 1:3 before news, which I would have gotten. I believe I would get a 1:2.5, and 100% I would break even my stop loss, and then I would hold this news. So what would the news do? Whenever we are lucky, and whenever there is news and you are in a trade, take the risk, bro, because the reward is very, very high, right? If you lose, what will happen? The most that can happen is you will break even the trade. You will not get anything. It's a break even, right? But if you win, the reward is very high, so it makes sense to do that. So I'm gonna do that on the market. And also we can see it was a London session bullish move, so it was very, 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 very high probability. The news literally went down, took us out if I took a trade here, and then made the move to the upside. So it was a continuation setup again on Friday. Hope you, this is a very long video, very informative video, to the T, explained to the T whole week. And if you follow what I'm saying, it's very easy. Trading is not hard. It's just you have to understand your psychology. You have to control your mind. You either control your mind or your mind controls you, right? It's here. So hope you guys learned something from this. See you on the next video. Peace.